money management. Now, there are 300-page books on money management when it comes to trading. But quite honestly, the most important part of money management actually is squeezable into just one lesson. And it is fascinating because really there are humongous books on money management for trading, for finance, and many other things. However, in my opinion, they are made simply to make money so that they look serious and huge and important and complicated. But money management is, quite honestly, a very, very simple topic. And we've covered quite a lot of it already. But let's talk about the list of key elements to money management. First and foremost is your size of trading deposit. So you might have $500 in your account, or you might have 1,000 or 50,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever. This is the core element of your money management, and everything else will depend mostly on this number. So of course, the next thing is your risk per trade. And remember that you must never ever risk more than 1% of your whole deposit on one single trade. And we'll talk about how to start correctly, but you can start as little as 0.1% risk of your whole deposit. That really depends on you. But in general, when I am trading until today, until this very day, I do not exceed 1%. In rare, super rare occasions where I see a fascinating level with a bunch of confirmations from the indicators and a few other, maybe some news somewhere in the world, and all the stars are coming together, and for this one trade, I might risk 2%. But this is very rare. On 99% of the time, I trade with a risk of 1% of my whole deposit per trade. And remember that it might seem like, wow, just 1%, well, you cannot really make very much money on one trade. But then if you think about it, 1% risk means a potential for 3% return, 1-to-3 ratio that we just spoke about in the previous lesson. Now, and this is becoming more interesting. Now imagine you have a $10,000 trading account, which even you don't have to start this big, and we will talk about how much money you should start with. But if you start small, and you will quite soon grow to $10,000, and that means that your risk will be $100 per trade, but you could make $300 on one good trade. And trust me, there will be days where you'll have many positive trades. And that means that even with a deposit of $10,000, you will have days where you might make $1,000. So I think that that's quite a good result. Now, the next part of money management, of course, is the risk per day. Now, we spoke about the risk per trade. Now, there must be also the risk per day. And I do have a certain risk per day, and you can have it either in the amount of money, or the amount of points, or the amount of trades. And I stick to my favorite rule of 3 negative trades in a row. So if I start my day and I make 3 negative trades in a row, most likely 99% of the time I will stop trading. That's as simple as that. Or you could actually say that 3% of your whole deposit. So if you have $10,000, or let's say $10,000 in your deposit, then if you lose $300 on any given day, that's it. That's your limit. You stop trading. The next element is the risk per week. And that one, of course, again, is the same as with the risk per day. It can be in the number of stops, in the number of lost points, or the number of money. And you have to come up with these numbers on your own. So for me, for myself, my risk per day, as I've said before, is 3 stops, so 3 negative trades. Then risk per week would be 5 working days times 3, so it's 15 negative trades per week. Of course, and then you can do the money management per month, per year and so on and so forth, but that's quite complicated. And quite honestly, that's not that very necessary, and there are a lot of details in this money management, but this is the core concept of what you should actually do, and this is all you need to know about money management, the core concepts, right? So, and what I mostly use, I don't even think about my risk per week, because I trade mostly every day. And when I trade, that's my 3 stops is my risk and finish. And I don't really overstep this rule too often. And I do not recommend you doing this either. Now, the next aspect of money management is the size of the stop. And now you know this already. The maximum amount of fixed stop is the 0.2% calculated from the total amount of points of the market that you're trading. Simple enough and quite easy to use. Now, the next aspect is your take profit. And this one we spoke about already 100 times, 1-to-3 ratio. That's it. Not less, but you can do more, but again, only if your statistics allows you, and not in the very beginning, a little bit later is fine. Now, a small note about money management. You have to start really small. Now, if you're an experienced trader and you came to me just for an extra guidance, then, well, do as you see fit. But if you're a beginner, I recommend starting as small as possible. And you, not just about the size of your deposit. Even if you have a large deposit of whatever amount, you should still start trading with as little amount of risk as possible. So if you would trade Forex in the beginning, for example, and you would have a risk of $5 per stop or whatever the smallest risk possible, that would be absolutely fantastic. And then you would trade for a week and you see that you're making constant profits, then feel free to increase, double the amount. So if you have a risk of $5, make the risk $10. If you trade one more week into profit with $10 risk, increase it to $20 risk. If that's going very well, then the next week, so the week after that, increase it to $30, and so on and so forth. Take it slow, gradually, having confirmation of your skills and your abilities, seeing the profits and feeling comfortable trading, then increase it. But don't overstep the boundary of 1% rule that I've just told you in this lesson. Now, if you've been increasing the amounts of contracts that you're trading per week, and then you suddenly have a negative week and you lose some money, then you don't have to reset it back to square one and back to the initial amount of contracts that you traded in the very beginning, the really small amount. Just take a step back. Maybe decrease the amount of contracts by one position. So go back. If you were trading 30, then go back to 20. Or if you were trading 20 contracts, then go back to 10 contracts. Or you get an idea. So decrease it a little bit. And please, I've told you this before and I'll mention it quickly once again, forget about the martingale system. And the martingale system, as if you remember, it's entails the concept of increasing the amount of contracts because of losses. So if you lost one trade, then you will increase your amount of traded contracts. And if you lose that one, then you'll increase it again with the hopes of getting your money back. Forget about it. This will destroy you. This is a destructive concept that maybe worked 30, 40, 100 million years ago, but not today. Market is merciless, and I've told you this many times already. Forget about the martingale system. If you are seeing that you're making losses, consult your statistics, try to see what's wrong, maybe write to your assistant if you will still have one, and do whatever it takes, but do not increase the number of traded contracts. You will feel tempted to do so because you might be working for a month with a nice profit, and then maybe a rough patch will start and you will lose a fraction or everything that you've made on the previous month, and you will feel empty and angry and pissed, and you will feel like, well, I must now get all of it back in 2 days. And then you will just end up losing everything you have in your trading deposit. So please never do that. And one last thing before we wrap up is the question of how much money should you start with? Now, if you've started already in your trading and you have your account for a while, your money account, that's fine. This information is not for you. But if you are just considering to start trading with money, and soon you'll have permission from me to start trading with money with the concept that I'm teaching you, the amount of money, it should not be big. You should start with as little money as possible. Now that depends on the kind of product you would like to trade and the kind of broker you would like to choose. For example, I really recommend trading through Interactive Brokers. These are the European-based brokers, and they are quite honest and very, very reliable. However, the minimum deposit was, I believe, around 5,000 euro or dollars, so it might be quite steep. So you could actually work with IG Markets. They offer almost the same good of the service. The service is okay, but there are a few issues with them, and we will discuss it later. But they're still okay to start with, and they allow you to have as little as 1,000 in your account. So that is something that I would recommend starting with, perhaps $1,000 or euro, and that's more than enough for the beginning. Now, there are a few brokers that you can start with around $20 or $200 and trade Forex, but those can be very tricky and nasty with huge commissions, with huge spreads and blah, blah, blah. So I will create a separate lesson for this topic, how to choose a broker and so on and so forth. But please do not start with a really nasty broker who offers an opportunity to open an account with as little as a few dollars. That might end up being quite a bad decision for your trading, and I will give you a few recommendations, but in a separate lesson. But the idea of starting, remember that the money should not be big. Even if you can afford to start with $300,000, please do not do that. Because in the very beginning, even though you've learned everything from me, you did the homework, and you've made sure that you understood every concept and every aspect and every system, and you practiced it, and everything is okay and great. Even if you did all of this, there is still a possibility that you might not start making money right away. You will still need a lot of practice, and maybe you will have to practice with money trading, because it still is psychologically different from demo trading. So there might be a few more things to go through on your own and practice. So starting with $300,000 makes absolutely no sense, and if you lose half of your deposit, it's going to be $150,000. And if you start with $1,000, you will have a deposit, you will lose maybe $500. And trust me, there will be no difference in losing $500 or $150,000, except the fact of the amount of money. And for your practice and for your training and preparation for real big money trading, there will be no difference. So your job when you will start trading money and you will open your money account, your job will be first few months to practice, train, and get some experience. And that practice must not be expensive. So you should actually make sure that you do not spend too much money on practice. If you are watching this right now, that means that you've spent money on my training program, and therefore you've spent quite a lot of money already, and there is no need to spend a lot more on practicing. Therefore, when you are starting, please don't start with a huge amount of money, because probably you will still lose some money in the very beginning until you get used to trading and to this concept and to everything else. So start small and slowly build it up, and I will later tell you how to build it up smoothly, even from the smallest amount of deposit, how to grow it into a really, really, really nice and substantial deposit with a nice amount of money. All right, this lesson is finally coming to an end. Please don't forget about the test and enjoy your homework, and I'll see you in the next lesson.